Many of you have heard about the SWOT analysis. In other words, for every business idea that you have, you need to perform a SWOT analysis to better understand your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, as well as threats. Theoretically, this sounds fantastic, but from a practical point of view, how do you perform the SWOT analysis on your company, on your startup, or even on the idea that you have? In this episode of PKB Inspire, I'm going to take you through how to practically perform a SWOT analysis. In the 1950s, Harvard Business School developed the SWOT model for companies to use to assess their strategic environment so as to position themselves to be relevant and to ensure that they are a going concern as the years go by. Researchers gathered an enormous amount of data. 4 questions came out of this data. Number 1, what is currently working well? In other words, what is satisfactory? What are the future possibilities and opportunities? This they refer to as opportunities. What is currently not going well? What are the faults that we find in our current operational structure? So these researchers called faults. And the last bit, what are the future threats that we anticipate? This they refer to as, of course, threats. Putting these 4 questions together, the acronym SOFT came about. So satisfactory, opportunity, faults, and threats. This is the genesis of the SWOT model. Building on this SOFT model, Volkswagen, which is VW, kind of gave a twist to this SOFT model, and they called theirs TOWS, TOWS, threats, opportunities, weaknesses, and strengths. So they replaced faults, which is the F in SOFT, with weaknesses. Over the years, this has evolved into what we refer to as the SWOT model or the SWOT analysis. Why is the SWOT analysis crucial for you as a business? Take you as an individual. For every decision you want to make, whether you want to go to college or you would like to make a new purchase of the new iPhone or the Dell XPS 13, whichever brand you choose to go with, you ask yourself, what is the amount of money that I have? What will be the impact if I make this purchase? How am I going to afford this purchase? What are the reviews out there concerning this particular product? What is the opportunity cost? In other words, if I make this purchase, what would I have to forego in order to afford this purchase that I have in mind? These questions come into your mind whenever you would like to make a purchase. In some cases, you do an extensive research even of the material makeup, durability, longevity, and so forth of the product you intend to buy. All these things that you are doing invariably is some form of SWOT or a variant of the SWOT analysis. So SWOT simply refers to strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you now agree with me that before you make any major purchase, you unconsciously perform a SWOT analysis. In other words, you look at, what are my strengths? How much money do I have? Do they have a payment plan for this purchase that I would like to make? What is the impact on my finances? What would be the impact on my output if you want to buy a laptop or a productivity tool, or if you want to buy a software? You also look at some reviews. So you look at strengths, you look at the weaknesses. What are the negative reviews out there concerning this product? And then you also consider, for example, what would it take to import if it's a delicate item? What would be the import, the possible threats? Would the importation be as easy as it is? Some products cannot be imported or exported to certain countries. So you invariably do a SWOT analysis in your day-to-day decision-making process. We're going to look at how to apply the SWOT model within the context of your business as an entrepreneur The evolution of the business climate has necessitated the need for entrepreneurs to pay particular attention to both the internal factors affecting their businesses as well as the external factors affecting those businesses. The SWOT analysis can be broken down into the internal factors. The internal factors are the factors that are very close to your business. These are factors that ordinarily you would have control over. You can exert a certain degree of control and a certain degree of direction towards. And then there's the external factors. External factors refer to the macro environment, the context within which your business is situated. So you can have a business in Europe or a business in Ghana. It could be the same product, same business model, but the context is different. You have local laws that pertain to those businesses, the tax regimes, and the business registration processes, and so forth. These are external factors. So let's delve a bit deeper into the internal factors of the SWOT model and the external factors of the SWOT model. The strengths and weaknesses fall under the internal factors of your SWOT analysis. And the examples of these internal factors are your finances, your corporate image or the organization image, the customer loyalty, how loyal your customers are towards your company, the innovative strength or the innovation capability of your team members or of your startup, as well as the technological know-how of the members of your team. So in essence, these internal factors would come together to help you assess your strength and your weaknesses. The external factors that you need to consider in your SWOT analysis would include the political regime, the cultural dimensions, the technological adaptation of your target audience. Here, if you want to adopt a more advanced model, you could use the PESTEL model. So PESTEL. So the political, the economic, the social, technological, environmental, and the legal dimensions. This is the PESTEL model. You can use this PESTEL model to assess the positioning of your company as far as the macro environment is concerned. So the opportunities and threats of your SWOT model or your SWOT analysis usually would focus on these external factors. What are the threats? When we talk about threats, we are considering things like the competition that you may have out there. There is one interesting model that a lot of times I've used in the past, and that is the Porter's 5 forces analysis, where you look at threats of new entrants, for example, threats of the internal rivalry. You look at bargaining power of your suppliers, the bargaining power of your customers, and all these things would affect you as a company, although they are external to you. So the threat of new entrants, no matter how innovative you are today, there is a startup somewhere whose technology would be superior to yours, on whose business model or the go-to-market model is absolutely fantastic, even better than yours. This is a threat, right? So you have threats of your competition or the internal rivalry. Within the industry that you find yourself in, you have lots of competition. These are well-established competitors who have the market share, who have the financial muscle to outwit you in the market. This you would consider a potential threat. The bargaining power of your customers. You have customers who would always ask for some form of discount, and this will obviously eat into your margins. This is a potential threat. You may not have considered it. Of course, the bargaining power of your suppliers. Again, as I mentioned in my previous video where I talked about the supply chain, your suppliers play an essential, critical role for the success of your company. You are as superior or you are as good as your suppliers. If the production inputs from your suppliers are not good enough, then the output of whatever manufacturing you are into would be inferior. And obviously it means your competition would have a field day when your product gets to the market. So this Michael Porter's 5 forces analysis could be applied on top of the PESTEL analysis that you would want to do for your SWOT model. So let's try to recap. We've talked about the SWOT analysis, SWOT, where S stands for strengths, W stands for weaknesses, the O stands for opportunities, and T stands for threats. We can break these into internal and external factors. The internal analysis that you need to do in your SWOT model would focus on the strengths and weaknesses. And these internal factors include things like your finances, your innovation, your creativity, the strength of your team, your IPs and intellectual properties that you may have, customer loyalty, and so forth. And then the external factors, which are the macro environmental factors, would include things like the cultural, political, legal, technological dimensions of your analysis. These come together to give you a more holistic view of the positioning of your company. This is driven by data. It has nothing to do with optimism or pessimism. It's really raw data that you collect using your company at the center stage to gather this information. The next question that comes to mind if you're watching this is, how do I practically perform a SWOT analysis on my company? In order to practically perform a SWOT analysis for your business, the first step you need to take is to define the specific goal. What is the goal of the SWOT analysis? Is it in relation to the rollout of a new product or moving into a new market? Is it in relation to the introduction of a new service towards your customers? Define that specific goal. Step number 2 is you need to include the members of your team. You have to sell the idea, the goal, and the objective to the members of the team. Constitute a team or a committee that would come on board solely to help you achieve this kind of analysis for your company. Make sure that the goals are clearly defined, your objectives and milestones are absolutely understood by each member of the committee. Step number 3, brainstorm on the 4 separate aspects of the SWOT. So for the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you need to have a brainstorming session of each of these 4 components. Also ensure that there's clear visualization of all these kinds of brainstorming sessions that you're having. So members of the team can visualize the progress and can visualize the interplay of these 4 components of the SWOT analysis. Step number 4, you need to merge and bring all these 4 aspects which you have brainstormed upon, bring them together and prioritize. Remember that in the brainstorming session, no idea is completely stupid or no idea should be thrown out the window. You need to bring the input of the members of the committee or the members of the team together. So step number 4, bring these 4 discussion points together, prioritize them, and share this priority together with the team. Step number 5, you need to assess the data or the information you have gathered, whether it's qualitative or quantitative. In most instances, from my experience, I have realized that a lot of qualitative data comes out of some of these discussions. You need to put some numbers to these ideas that have come up, put some quantitative data in order to make a business case. The ultimate aim of the SWOT analysis is to build a formidable business in the marketplace. So after you have classified these ideas into qualitative and quantitative data, then you need to get some more information, usually after the brainstorming session, to be able to quantify whatever information you have gathered from the team. You need to make a business case. It is this business case that will eventually be implemented. Step number 6, once you've gathered all the information, all the data, you need to find yourself, what is the strategic importance of the data that I've collected? How would this data create even more opportunities in the face of adversity? Ask yourself the critical question that how do I even find opportunities where risks are quite pervasive? How do I create the strategic positioning such that I'm always winning in the marketplace and I'm always serving my customers as efficiently as possible? Step number 7, develop an action plan. The action plan would make it easier and more tangible for every member within your team to run with this objective that you have set. The action plan is what drives the operational aspect of your startup. The action plan is what is understood by the members of your team. It is that ubiquitous daily actions that needs to be performed in order to meet the larger goal. Your action plan is as important as your strategic objective. And the last point is that you need to incorporate this plan into the larger business objective or the corporate plan or the corporate objective. Once this is done, you need to set operational milestones and evaluation of the objective that you began with in the first place. This is what would enable you to monitor, to evaluate, to set corrective measures, and to even reward members of your team who are performing to ensure that you meet the objective that you have set for them. When performing your SWOT analysis, be as objective as possible. Make sure to eschew any form of biases, be it optimism or pessimism. Focus on the data that you're collecting. And once you do this, you're able to get a very dispassionate overview of where you stand as a company. Remember that the most important asset that you have as a startup is you and your team. Not necessarily the idea, because there is someone out there who has exactly the same idea that you have. But what you have going on for you is the uniqueness of the members of your team and your own unique perspective to making sure that your company works. Treat your team as the most important asset that you have during this process of your SWOT analysis. Make sure that you bring on board all the inputs of the members of your committee and ensure that you do not take anyone's idea for granted. Thank you for watching this episode of PKB Inspire, where we discussed the SWOT analysis. It is my hope that you benefited from this episode. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe to this channel for even more exciting content. Thank you very much, and catch you on the next one.